Hello, everybody. Louise Edington, the Cosmic Owl Astrology, and here with the week ahead forecast beginning Sunday, the 15th. And it's, a good week coming up. A super moon in Gemini, Mercury guided Gemini with Mercury stationing direct. I just recorded a new video with Kathy Beale and Andy Brewer. And since we recorded it, we have had news that Nancy Pelosi got injured and is in hospital on a congressional trip. No further details. And that's maybe Mars related, we'll see. But also, quite interestingly, somebody who watches our videos, thank you to you, you know who you are, sent me some information that Elmo Musk may be indicted by the SEC soon because he has been yesterday, the commission staff of the SEC issued a settlement demand that required Mr. Musk agree within 48 hours to either accept a monetary payment or face charges on numerous counts. They indicated that this demand was the result of a directive from their superiors and that charges would be brought imminently unless Mr. Musk acquiesced. This demand follows a multi-year investigation and more than 6 years of harassment of Mr. Musk by the commission and its staff. More recently, the staff subpoenaed. This is from Mr. Musk's attorney. The staff subpoenaed me, Mr. Musk's attorney, for testimony and threatened to send a process server if I did not immediately cooperate. I categorically refused. This week, the commission has reopened an investigation into Neuralink. And Securities and Exchange Commission, that's kind of really, big stuff. Anyway, his lawyer, Musk's lawyer, says that the commission is not motivated to seek the truth, but is engaged in an improperly motivated campaign against Mr. Musk and the individuals and companies associated with him. We demand to know who directed these actions, whether it was you or the White House. So anyway, we will not be intimidated. And that's from Alex Spiro of Quinn Emanuel Trial Lawyers, New York. Now, clearly that's saying that Musk is not guilty, but it does mention that he will be indicted. There was also somebody who's investigating this kind of American muckrakers.com, they're called, is emailed the lawyer and said, I understand your client is going to be indicted or over the weekend by the SEC and US DOJ for securities fraud. Can you please confirm and provide a comment from your client? So I don't know what's true clearly or anything, but we said things would start coming to light. So anyway, we'll see, I guess. But that's just since we recorded it. And we recorded it starting at 10 a.m. this morning, my time, and it's now 2 p.m. This weekend is likely to bring a lot of news, just saying. Anyway, let's go on with the week. So I'm going to share the chart. I'm going to go through the major aspects. And as usual, I pulled 3 cards. So let me get I'm just getting my list of aspects up. So here we are on Sunday, the 15th, and the full moon itself, there's a whole full video on the full moon, is at 23 degrees Gemini, 52 at 4:01 a.m. So, you know, 4 hours into the new week, we have this Mercury guided full moon. And then Mercury, which is the guide for the Gemini moon, stations direct at 3:56 p.m. at 6 degrees Sagittarius. And then there are a couple of other aspects. So the first thing I want to say is that the moon is out of bounds. The moon, we're in lunar maximum. The moon goes out of bounds in around these usually late Gemini through Cancer and into early Leo. The moon is going out of bounds further and for longer at the moment because we are at lunar maximum. That happens every 18.5 years. If you want to know about lunar maximum, just Google lunar maximum or lunistis. You will find information about it. It happens every 18.5 years with lunar minimum happening in between. And lunar maximum always happens when the north node, starts to reach 0 Aries of a 0 degree of the cardinal signs, which are called world points. Lunar minimum occurs when the north node is at 0 Libra, and I have a north node at that point. I was born on a lunar minimum. Lunar minimum, lunar maximum, they kind of are what it says. You know, when it's at lunar maximum, everything's heightened, it's maximum, they go more out of bounds, more supermoons, which means they're closest to Earth. It's kind of just very, very heightened energy. All right. So let's start the week by saying the moon is out of bounds. And it was out of bounds on the election, by the way, just to go back to our videos that I'm doing with Kathy and Andy. So the full moon, 23 degrees Gemini, 23, the most human of numbers, also the number of chaos magic in mutable signs, which is very changeable, also quite more chaotic, more scattered, more all over the place. Mercury stationing direct. What a start to the week. Okay. Things are going to come to light, but you may also feel a bit hither and thither and a bit kind of like, oh my God, there's so much happening. I don't know what to take in and process. It's also a great time for mind magic. All right. So that's why I did the class on mind magic, which has finished now, but you know. So the full moon itself, just let's go to 4:01 a.m. You can see it's at here. You can go and watch my whole video. It is in a wide square to Neptune. It's in an aspect semi-sextile to Uranus with Algol, which means the sun is in a quincunx to Uranus, making an adjustment, saying, you know, things are going to shift and change and adjust. All right, so I'm not going to talk about the full moon loads because I did its own video, but we will have a quick look at Mercury stationing direct a few hours later. By the time Mercury stations direct, the moon has moved into its own sign. And as Mercury stations direct, it will be at 0 Cancer, which is another world point. The 0 degrees of all the cardinal signs are one of the world points, and they are the points where the sun changes signs and seasons. And we've got that this week as well, because we've got the winter solstice, or the solstice, because it's southern hemisphere, it's your summer solstice coming up this week as well. So, you know, potent point while Mercury stations direct. And Mercury is stationing direct in a fire trine, which is active now as I record this on Friday, the 13th. This is a fire trine, passion, burning off, but also speaking truths, because Mercury is Sagittarius, is a real truth speaker. NATO's chart was activated by that. So what a powerful day to start the week, right? add in just after Mercury stations direct, the Sagittarius sun comes up to a trine, and I'm going to add her back in to truth teller and table shaker Eris in Aries. Things are gonna shake, rattle, and roll. And I know it's the weekend, but they are. I can tell you. It's a massive start to the week. Now, this does not mean that everybody is going to be affected equally. For you to be affected, you will have to have areas of your chart aspected. And some of it may be just a witnessing because, Gemini and Mercury is about taking in information. Okay. So it's not all that everybody's going, lives are going to be chaos, even those of you that have aspects. But add to this fact, what a start to the first day, honestly. And the moon does this twice every month, but I'm going to show you because right after all of this, the moon squares its own nodes, and again, we're at lunar maximum. Way out of bounds. Everything square the nodes is a turning point. So, it's just a big day. Full moon, the luminaries illuminating a lot of information, a lot of truth, a lot of understanding, a lot of knowledge, and then a turning point in the cardinal signs, which is new beginnings. Big, big day. Okay, so let's move on. Oh, as if that was not enough. So on Monday is quite a quiet day, actually. There's only a couple of lunar aspects that I will go over, of course, in my Substack as I go into the more nitty-gritty details every day on my Substack. But on to the 17th at 6:39 p.m. So Tuesday, yes, the moon leaves the sign of Cancer where it's fairly quiet, but remember, still out of bounds. The moon moves into Leo for a couple of days. Now I am here going to mention some lunar aspects, which I will normally only say for my Substack, but I'm going to mention that the moon opposes Pluto, opposes Ceres, and conjuncts Mars, all on this day. And of course, we've got this ongoing Mars-Pluto opposition. We had the first opposition 2 days before the election at 29 degrees Capricorn Cancer, and we've got 2 more to come at the beginning of Aquarius and Leo, because Mars is going retrograde and then back opposing Mars again. Ceres is meeting the people's needs or the collective needs or the group needs in Aquarius, and the moon is shining the light on that because the moon really is still pretty full, but now it's in a releasing in phase. It's starting to wane, okay, here, and saying, let's start shining the light in the sun sign on the actions, Mars, of people, illuminating the shadow of how the needs are not met. At the same time, pretty much, as all this opposition is going on, the moon, remember the moon squared the nodes on the 15th. The moon will now trine the north node, which is in Mars sign. This is passionate and fiery release, burning down, if you like, all that kind of energy. It's quite astounding. Then later on that day, or actually moving on to the 18th. Oh, by the way, the moon moves back in bounds early on the 18th, right as the moon opposes Ceres, by the way. But the sun, so we move to the sun on this day, the other luminary. Oh. Yep, the sun hits the galactic center, 27 degrees, 7 minutes, but 2 minutes from it, squares Neptune, which just stationed direct, square the galactic center. More illumination of truth, but also questioning your faith, your beliefs, really asking you to believe in the truth that you intuit and understand and have faith in the process. And you will kind of laugh when you see the cards I pulled. Remember this aspect. It's on the galactic center, which sends waves of new information into our collective consciousness. Neptune is starting to part the clouds and reveal everything that's been hidden. All right. What a time. So, yeah, moon still in Leo, you can see. So moving onwards to the next big aspect, which is on the 19th. Oh, what is this? At 9:10 p.m. You can see the moon's finishing up the couple of days in the sign of Leo. But Venus over here in Aquarius meets Cariclo, Grace Spinner. I did a whole video on her as well, at 14 degrees, which is 5, a number of change. And if those of you that watch the the cards back in the deck, Kathy and I noticed I pulled a card at the end that was the change, but also it was the Thoth Tarot change card, which was about coming into balance and infinity. And it was the Ouroboros with the snake as well. And we're moving into the year of the snake next year. But Venus and Cariclo are in a beautiful air trine with Jupiter. The two benefits and the beautiful weaver and spinner of grace, a space holder for healing, for in the signs of community and the people in many ways. And this is, just a magical thing. More truth coming out. That's next Thursday, the 19th. And it's truth that's helping us to create this mind magic and manifest the future we want to see, basically. So moving on to the 20th. And on the 20th, which is Friday, so a week from now, the moon will move into Virgo for a couple of days. The moon is now waning, heading towards the last quarter moon. So we'll be looking at that. But on this day, there's a bigger aspect that was activated by the moon just recently. Mars will oppose Ceres, and I cannot leave Ceres out of these charts anymore. I must get writing on my book if I ever find time, because I consider her a missing personal planet. But Mars are our leaders, which we are reviewing, by the way. Mars in Leo, leadership, the king, action, often a male, opposing Ceres at 4 degrees, which is a number of stability in the tarot, by the way, saying, let me look, are their actions meeting the collective's needs? All right, so this has a liberatory feel to it as well. Now then, on to the 21st, and I'm quickly going to show you the solstice chart for set in Washington, so this will apply to the US. You can set the solstice chart for anywhere in the world, but this is for the US. And Scorpio rising, that kind of indicates to me that some deep manipulation and corruption is going to be revealed. But look at this. As the sun enters the sign of Capricorn, the moon, Virgo, the people, thanks to Kathy for pointing this out, because I hadn't looked this far ahead yet, opposes Saturn in Pisces, revealing corruption, showing the blocks, and square Jupiter. More big news coming out. that will change everything. And really look at this, 13, the number of the goddess. And remember, it's still really an aspect to this character as well. The news coming out this week may not happen as you anticipate and may, look a little bit different than you hoped for, but it's going to be big and going to change a lot. Now then, on to, well, the moon moves into Libra on the 22nd, and I am just going to dive a little bit ahead. So the moon is going to... Why is this doing this? Mercury is playing with me. So on Sunday, but this will be in next week's, but I'm going to mention a couple of things because they're huge. The moon will conjunct its own south node for the last time in Libra, because in early January, before the moon is here again, the south node will have moved into Virgo and the north node into Pisces. And this is at that lunar maximum. And this is the no more playing nice kind of south node Libra. Learning to stand up for yourself, Aries, and not roll over and play dead anymore, or be codependent, or smooth things over for the sake of it. More things coming out. That's a big turning point as well, especially because it's at lunar maximum. And then one other thing I'm going to mention, which I'll go into again next week, is later on, actually early on Monday, the 23rd, because we'll feel this coming. So it's worth mentioning, especially again, because lunar maximum, nodes at the world point or coming up to, we have what's called the moon wobble. The sun just moved into Capricorn, sign of institutions, square the nodes for the last time in those signs. Now, let me get you to the next square. The next square will be that's right. June the 13th, 2025. The nodes will have shifted signs. The sun will be in Gemini, will be in June. The whole world's going to look very different by then. This is a week to watch. We're not only changing seasons, the light's returning for the Northern Hemisphere, where most of this political action is happening, but the news and the information coming out and the downloads for you too personally is just off the charts. So I said you'd laugh about the cards I pulled, especially when I think of the Sun in Sagittarius square to Neptune in Pisces, but also there was that point where the Virgo moon is opposing Saturn and squaring Jupiter on the solstice, right? So cards I pulled: the Hanged Man, trust, have faith, surrender to the process, know that things are unfolding as they should, trust your intuition, let go, let God, all of those kind of things. Then the sun. Okay, this is the literal sun's card. The sun is returning, good things are coming into wholeness. But then the moon in Virgo on the solstice, this is the Virgo card. This is again looking within. One head backwards, two heads forward. The rebirth is coming, the Orphic egg, and this thing here that always looks like a semen to me. This is the Hermit. This again is another call to trust how you receive that information and how it's processing within you, whether it's coming from downloads or what you hear, synchronicities. Just know that that light within you is telling you what's true. All right, much love. Have a great week and wow. See you soon.